This is Juan with Moix RV. I'm the delivery coordinator, so I'm going to be doing some videos in the next couple of weeks about winterization. So we're starting off with our basic camper is a 175BH bunkhouse model, and we're just going to go through the winterization processes. All right, everybody, some of the first steps that we're going to do is drain the water system. And that means trying to find your low point drains and your fresh water drain. So ideally, your fresh water fills right here, so your fresh water drain is directly below it, and so are two lines that are hanging down. That's your hot and cold line on the fresh water system. Now, also, you've got a water heater that you have got to drain also. Now, on this model, we have an anode rod that has it, and so we have an 1/16" socket that we've got to take out and let this sucker drain properly. Now, inside the camper is where going to be the bypass kit, which is going to help us winterize the camper. So first we're going to do is drop the low point drains down below right behind this dump valve system. All right, under here, you got your two low points. You got the hot and the blue right down here for the cold side. Now, I also have a pair of pliers and a pair of channel locks because it does have a locking system on it. So one, you've got to hold the locking nut and then remove the cap. If you can see it, water's going to start spewing out just a little bit. You might get a little bit wet. There's the cold line, and here comes the hot line. Now these caps are going to stay off till we get back inside and open up all the faucets, and then when I start putting everything back together, so we have to put pink antifreeze to the whole system, so these are going to stay open and drain. So these are going to stick these over here in the water heater for the meantime. Now when draining the water heater, try to make sure the sucker is ice cold, everything's turned off, the gas side and the electric side if you have it. Okay, next we're going to release the pressure on the pop-off valve, so if there's any pressure, it's going to release. So as I open this up, down below, the low point starts to drain. So we're going to open up, after I drain this, we're going to open up all the faucets inside and drain the system. So here we go. Pressure's off and released. Step back a little bit, remove the anode rod, and that's going to drain your system right there. Now this anode rod is going to stay out of the camper. It's going to stay out through the winter time. You're going to have at least about a gallon left of water in here, and it will freeze, so it's got to have room to expand. So right now it's draining. Now that we're in the camper, now it's time to open up all the faucets in the camper so any excess water is going to drain out. So pull the faucets back. You can hear it sucking or siphoning. So now we're going to go into the bathroom, do the same thing with all the faucets. Everything open. We're just going to let them drain. Everything down to the shower. That opens up. Toilet valve. Make sure any more excess water comes out of this one. Now, we're looking for the water here. Now, remember, it was in the back corner of this camper back here. So we have a panel that's back here. So usually the cushion's back here for the bunkhouse model. So there are some screws you have to remove. So on here, we have a Phillips number 2 and a square head bit that has to remove the screws. On this camper, we had square head screws, 4 screws around this panel. So it unscrews, pops up, you move it out of the way, and we have your water heater and your pump right down here. Camper, you've got 2 valves on this water heater. There's one on the hot water side, it's up there by the red line, and one down below on the blue line. So they are in line, so that means they're in full operation. So we have to turn those valves the opposite way. On certain campers, they have what they call a three-way valve, but this one just has 2. Also, down the water pump, right down below here, there is no bypass kit on the pump. So what that means is there you have to have a water line to install on that water pump so we can siphon in the antifreeze. Next, I'm going to go ahead and turn the valves on the water heater themselves, and then I'm going to start the winterization bypass kit. So the valves go the opposite way. They go towards the lines. So they were crossways from the lines, and now they're in line. So now the water heater is bypassed so we can safely put antifreeze to the system. Now, on your winterization kit, you can buy this kit inside RV pump converter kit, which is going to be installed on the pump, and it's going to be left there for next time you winterize. Now, it comes with a hose. It screws onto one of the low sides. It comes with a union, so you can install your through-way valve on the camper. It also comes with a cap if you decide to shut the system down. Now, down below, you've got the low side of your water pump is going to come from the water heater, I mean, from the fresh water tank. So that's that valve on this side. So this is where our pump, this is where it's going to go in line. So now the valve opens and closes. It's got a three-way valve. So usually what I do to check, make sure it goes. It's not this side. So we're going to put this, orientate this just like this in the system. So the line can come in and it can siphon into the water, inside to the water systems. It's going to go there. I'm going to install some thread tape. That goes on the low side of the pump. I can get this off. There we go. A little bit of processes. All in a good watertight seal. It comes in the kit, the thread tape does. Now, if you need to buy the kit, they also have water heater bypass kits for the camper also. So when you get to Moix, look up Shane or Jordan, and they will help you out find whatever parts you need, as well as we do have antifreeze in the system. So that's going to go on, and it's just going to go hand tight. Now, we're going to disconnect the low side of the fresh water tank. You might get a little bit of water out of there, but the union's going to go on the pump itself. There we go. And again, this all going to be hand tight because it's all it needs, because we have low pressure on this pump. That's all it is. So that's going to go there. You're going to put the line back into it on the pump. Get you a couple of towels to get a little bit wet. That screws on there. And then your hose is going to go right on top so we can siphon it in. There we go. I can get it in right. There we go. There it goes. Now this camper, you've got a lot of room to work in, so some of your campers you might have to remove a couple of panels, wedge yourself in and be a contortionist to get this sucker put together. So now we're in the process of ready to shut the water valves off, close off the low point drains outside, and get the camper ready for winterization. To test the hose that you've just installed, find your water pump, which is right over here, water pump system, activate it. You'll be able to hear this noise. That's where it's sucking in. So now you can bring the antifreeze jugs over. This one I have 3, just to make sure, but 2 probably is enough. Puncture a hole in the top of it. And here's where it's going to siphon in. But first, we've got to shut off the valves on all the water systems itself. It's going to shut it off for now. Here. And of course the shower. And we're going to go outside and plug the caps up on the outside of the low point drains. All right, previously I had a wrench and a pair of pliers, but here you're just going to hand tighten the nuts on the bottom of the low point drains. All right, so they're just hand tightened. Now also, we're going to drain the fresh water hose. The fresh water line's over here on this side by the dump station. So it's a little 3-way valve, and we'll get you a picture of that. So here we go. Excess draining out. Now that all the valves and everything is put back in place like we had originally, now it's time to start siphoning the antifreeze in. So get the bottles as close as possible to the pump, which is, if you've got the room, stick it right next to it, because you're going to siphon it in a little bit closer. So this is going to go in the line itself, in the jug. And so this is a 2-person job or a 1-person job. So the valve is already turned, so now we're ready to siphon. So all we need is to turn on the water pump. And we're going to go to the closest faucet to bring antifreeze into the system. Now, you'll see it siphoning in. We're going to make sure it pressurizes out. Now it's getting ready to stop. right there. So now we're at a good spot to start opening faucets. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the kitchen first. Got air in the line. It's gonna push out whatever water it has excess in. Go to hot, go to cold. A good pink color coming out of it. Whoop. This is where that two-person hand's gonna come into play. There we go. Shut it off. Let it pressurize out. There we go. Make sure our water line or our line stays in there. We're going to go to the next faucet. Woo, there we go. We got a good pink there. Now we're going to go to the toilet. Of course, valve opens up. Get a good pink color. Close that off. Now the shower. There's the hot. Here comes the cold. A really good pink color on each system. Now I'm going to go through. I know we still have antifreeze left in the jug, so we're going to go ahead and make sure we got a couple more in there. Go to there, open it up, and back to the kitchen. Now, if you had an outside shower, of course this one doesn't, you would open up those faucets as well outside. But again, we've got more campers we're going to winterize and show you all also. So now we're back to the water pump right now. If you can see it, it's just getting to the bottom of that jug. There's only a little bit left in here. So we're going to turn the pump off up on the monitor panel. Now we're going to utilize the excess antifreeze. Now we do have some antifreeze still left in here, so I'm just going to turn the pump on. And then it's going to clean the line out right there. And so now what I do with the line after this is I go ahead and turn it back in line, get it ready for the next season. So all you have to do is fill the tank up and drain the system out. So whatever I have extra here, I'm going to pour down the faucets. So what this is going to do is it's going to treat those P-traps that you have in the camper, as well as the rest of the lines that are in the camper as well. So you've got this P-trap, you've got the shower and the sink in here. So there's still a good jug. So usually about these little small campers take about 2 jugs, but they could do 3, you know, for just good measure to get everything else winterized. Of course, you pour it down the throats just to push out any excess water in that tank. And then a little bit here. Now, this is going into the tanks themselves, into the black and the gray tanks themselves. So you will need to, before we did this, we should have drained the black and the gray tank, but ideally y'all would know that. So drain the freshwater systems out, and then the antifreeze is going to go into the tanks, and it's going to treat those valves outside also to keep them winterized for the wintertime. So other than that, besides clean up and then closing up the water heater on the system, the door outside and closing this back down, getting it prepped for the wintertime, that is winterization for this little 175 bunkhouse model. Now on certain campers also, we've got some stuff to show you here. Now if your camper did not come with a bypass kit, we do have these little water heater bypasses. So what that means is, in this camper, we would have had to take the lines off on the hot and the cold line and install this valve system. So this goes into the top, that goes in the bottom, and you just loop the system in so you can single out the water heater. So there's other systems. We also do have a blowout plug. This is for blowing out the system to get all the water out as much as you can. So this is an effective way, as well as the way I've done it today, is draining all the water out as much as we can to drain the system out.